Hello everybody and welcome back to NCAA 2004, and we are finally kicking off year number 9, the gauntlet as I called it in the offseason video, because we have a lot of ranked opponents, including today's opponent, the Texas Longhorns. We're heading all the way down to Austin to play the Texas Longhorns, who come into the season ranked 6th after finishing last year ranked 5th, losing the Fiesta Bowl and the BCS National Title game to Fresno State after another great 13-1 season for the Longhorns program. And there's not much else to say about Texas. The last time we played Texas, they still had Vince Young at quarterback, okay? Vince Young, or excuse me, should I say quarterback number 10, because he was still, unnamed in this game. But yeah, so in that game, that was the BCS National Title game, also in the Fiesta Bowl, in which Texas jumped out to a very early lead. We managed to catch up, but unfortunately our late rally fell short, and we would lose our first attempt at a national title to Texas. And Texas is also still looking for their next national title. Last year's Fiesta Bowl was the first time Texas had made it back since that game against us in year number 4. So Texas went on to win the Big 12 2 more times after that. They only have 3 Big 12 championships. We, of course, have several more SEC championships, but they do have a great roster heading into this game. And our roster, on the other hand, experienced a little bit of change here. We only have 10 returning starters from year number 8, okay? And that's including guys who weren't necessarily number 1 of the depth chart, like 2 and 3 guys, like Max Price and Thomas Samples. And then, of course, we also lost our tackle leader and our TFL leader on defense. So we're going to need to be seeing quite a bit from this new squad here, as Ryan Barton's already getting the boys moving on offense. A deep shot downfield to Thomas Samples, who is now receiver number 1 after an 891-yard season last year with 11 touchdowns. We're expecting to see quite a bit from Thomas Samples, a big step up in that receiver 1 role. But with Max Price now at receiver 2 and even Andrew Solomon now up to receiver 3, it's a much different look here in that receiving core, and even with a brand new quarterback. So first and 10 now for Barton and the boys at about the 30-yard line, and it's a quick dump off to our new starting tight end, Broderick Black, number 88. He's a sophomore now, replacing Carl Mann, who graduated last season. So second and 10 now at the 15 for the Crimson Tide, and Barton takes another shot towards the end zone, and it's Andrew Solomon now, the junior. I still consider Andrew Solomon and Max Price the young guys on the roster, since we recruited them at the same time in the same offseason, but it is definitely not. They are definitely older guys now. And so now running the option play in our own end, and it's Demetric Lyman, the new starting running back, who breaks a tackle, and he's off to the races across the 50, inside the 40, and nearly gets across the 30 before he's shoved out of bounds here. That's just his second touch on the ball today, and he's already got 75 yards after a huge pickup. Now remember, we have a new starting running back for the Crimson Tide here after J.J. Wright's 800-plus yards and 10 touchdowns last season. We saw a huge boost from Demetric Lyman, which really kind of put him in a position here. They're both 86 overall, but we're deciding to go with Lehman at running back. I just wanted a different change here. I wanted to see if we could break that 1,000-yard rushing mark. I wasn't sure if J.J. Wright was going to be capable of doing it. So a hold here on third down is going to give us a shot here on fourth down, because Texas didn't want to accept it. They figured that we wouldn't go for it, and so Sick Nathan keeps the boys on the field for a 4th and 2 versus a 3rd and 11, and it still doesn't go anywhere for us, as it's a turnover on downs in Texas's end, unfortunately. But we're back on offense here, as Texas's offense has really struggled to get anything going here, and Ryan Barton is having no problems finding Thomas Samples, who's been producing quite a bit already early on in this game here in Austin. And that is how the first quarter is going to come to a close. Our one touchdown is the only strike that would hit the scoreboard here in a rainy day here in Austin. I don't know why it's so rainy and gloomy here. But on a 3rd and 2, we're going to hand this one off to our new starting fullback, Robbie Tanner, who's going to fumble the football, and it's going to be picked up by the Longhorns. So fullback is one of those positions that we're kind of taking a step back here. After Marquise Houston graduated, we really only have Robbie Tanner, who's like a 79 overall. So it's a huge step down in that production at that position. You can see Robbie Tanner really didn't have a ton of speed on that play here. So a turnover is going to give Texas a prime opportunity, as their quarterback Chris Falk, the senior, is able to link up here with their running back DeAndre Herbert. And so now Falk once again dropping back to pass. Pressure's coming here, but he avoids it, steps up and makes a beautiful throw, and that one's going to be caught and hauled in by one of the several impressive Texas receivers on this depth chart here. And now a 1st and goal here from about the 1 yard line for Texas, and Falk's going to keep it himself and step into the end zone for a QB sneak. And finally the Longhorns are going to strike back and answer back to the Crimson Tide after our early touchdown. But now we are here kind of firmly in the second quarter and only 14 points on the scoreboard combined. Barton waits to the very last second before he gets clobbered, and it's Thomas Samples downfield who stumbles out of bounds after making a spectacular catch in a one-on-one competition downfield with one of Texas's many seasoned DBs here. So 1st and goal now from about the 7 or 8 yard line. Barton trying to get it into the end zone, flips it out to a completely wide open. Is that Scotty Mitchell? 89? No, sir. We know Scotty Mitchell graduated. And that is actually going to be the new freshman receiver that we recruited, Steven Barker, who's donning 89 this season. We might retire 89 here in a couple seasons. I don't want to do it super fast like Dion did, but we might retire it. But Texas is creating some madness and some chaos on their own end as a fumble from their top receiver, Dwayne McCown. Fumbles the football on a pass across the middle. We're going to get another look at it. Falk hits McCown across the middle, and he just cannot hold on to it on the way down to the ground. And that ball slips out here, and it's going to be recovered by Pat Burks. Is going to recover the fumble. So now we have another opportunity in a prime spot, and Barton's not going to waste any time hitting Andrew Solomon across the middle for a nice completion, as there was a mess of Longhorn players, but Solomon with the concentration able to haul that one in here for a 1st down. But after some negative plays, we were pushed back to about the 15 with goal to go. Barton steps out of the pocket and makes an absolute throw on the run here to Max Price into the end zone. And Price, with only 2 touchdowns last season, already has 1 in this game here. So I think he'll probably match that number as the season progresses. I don't think we have to worry about that. But what we do have to worry about is Texas's offense gaining some rhythm as Falk with another completion downfield to get the Longhorns into Crimson Tide territory. And here we have a little bit of pressure getting applied to Falk, but Falk able to move around in the pocket and create something here as he hits Ethan Esterigi? I can't pronounce his last name. But on a 3rd and 1, we have Harold Frazier misplaying a football to McCown. That pass out to McCown. Harold Frazier, I guess, thought he could maybe cut that one off. We'll get another look at it here. He tried to cut that one off. He thought he read it perfectly, but just mistimed it by a second or so. And McCown's going to get his 1st touchdown in this game. So 21-14 is now the score here late in the 1st half. Barton almost rolling into pressure here, but gets rid of it in time. And Andrew Solomon's going to tightrope his way along the sideline to get that catch completed. So now 45 seconds, we are looking to maybe strike once again on the scoreboard, and Barton floats one out to Max Price, and Texas had a couple guys, I don't know, they were not in position, man. That was a beautiful looking play as Barton was able to find that throwing lane, just running Max Price up the seam here, and boom, in the first game in year number 9 in his junior season, Max Price has already matched his touchdown total from last season, and with the yardage, he might even beat his yard total of 378 yards. He's obviously not going to have 378 yards in this game, but by game number 2, he probably definitely will. So 28-14 is your score after 1 half of play, and Texas is getting things started here with Harold Frazier getting himself an interception to start off the second half. And Harold Frazier was our interception leader last season with 4, and now he's already got 1 in this game. So Barton here from about midfield is going to throw this one to Thomas Samples, who's surrounded by Longhorns. Look at that. There's like 4 or 5 of them, and none of them were playing the ball, man. Thomas Samples was completely all alone to make that catch, just surrounded by defenders. So now 2nd and 8 here for the Crimson Tide, and Lehman getting some action again, but he's going to fumble the football himself. And I can't tell you the fumble stat for J.J. Wright last season, but I don't remember him fumbling quite a bit last year. He definitely had a fumble or 2, but Lehman fumbles the football deep in Texas territory, but Texas only goes backwards, so now they're going to have to punt this one from their own end zone. And so regardless of how good or bad the return is, we're probably going to be set up in good position, and we are. Just outside the 30, we are able to get right back in to where we were, and it's Harold Frazier who was able to get us back in to about where we were. So fast forward to a 3rd and 6 here. Barton delivers one across the middle to Andrew Solomon again, who's got a nice little step and a nice little bit of room here to get close to the end zone. He gets tackled just shy I thought he might have had a chance to get to the end zone off of that simple catch, but he gets tackled at about the 1-yard line. So first and goal here for the Crimson Tide. We're going to hand this one off to Lehman, who's going to make up for his fumble and get into the end zone for his first touchdown of the season. And now we have really given it to the Longhorns in this game here. Our offense is moving just a little bit too effortlessly. I thought that'd be an area where we'd struggle, but we seem to be doing pretty well. So 35-14, with just 30 seconds left in the third quarter. And Barton still hitting Thomas Samples. No matter what Texas tries to do, what adjustments they try to do, it does not seem to be working because Thomas Samples is free as a bird out here. So first and 10 now deep in Texas territory. Barton once again all day to throw here. Unloads one deep into the end zone. Once again, a whole mess of Longhorn defenders in the vicinity, but somehow it's Andrew Solomon who comes down with it. And we're going to get another nice little look at this play here. Barton again waiting to the very last second to let go of the football. That might turn catastrophic if that gets any worse. But Solomon gets himself another touchdown in this game here, and we take a 42-14 lead over the reigning Big 12 champs. So 2nd and 15 for Texas. They're finally moving on offense here. Falk lets one go, floats one down the seam of the field here. And Dwayne McCown gets himself another reception. He's been Texas's top contributor, even though it's not leading to points right now for the Longhorn offense. So 2nd and 1 here. It's a short situation. And Falk's just going to hand this one off here to Herbert, the running back, the sophomore. And he's going to get into the end zone for another Texas touchdown. So don't count out the Longhorns. There's still plenty of time here. They're down 42-21. And now they're back on offense here. And Falk, under a ton of pressure, gets rid of it somehow. And it's going to be caught. And there's no one behind. There's no one back there. We got backups in, and there's no one that's behind to make up here for the lapse on defense as McCown takes this one all the way to the end zone for another Texas touchdown. So we have our backups in because we were just so far ahead, but now Texas is applying a little bit of pressure here in the fourth quarter. We can't really write them off. I mean, I don't know if there's a ton of time for them to completely erase the deficit, but they're doing a pretty good job here as it's now going to be 42-28. And so on a 2nd and 1 here, we have the starters back in. Sick Nabin wants to kind of put a statement on this game here, and he gets Lehman back in there for another touchdown, another rushing touchdown. An impressive 20-plus yard rushing touchdown for Dimitri Lehman as he gets into the end zone after we put the starters back in to kind of let Texas know, like, hey, dude, it's over. We're putting the nail in the coffin here. It's over. But Texas would still score again as their offense was not done. They would take up pretty much most of the time remaining in the game to do it. So there's not much of a rally to be had, even though they do come back within 14 points, which, I don't think can be overstated here for Texas. I mean, that's a solid performance to stay in the game and play a full 60 minutes, man. I mean, there's not a ton of people or a ton of teams that can really do that in the face of a blowout. They went into the fourth quarter down 42-14 and still managed to come within 14. So I commend the Longhorns and the effort here, but still, it was just no match for our offense, which was really firing on both sides of the ball. We passed extremely well and we ran very well, which isn't typically something that we do. Especially last year, it felt like we passed well, or at least decently, most of the time, but running the football, we just could never really get J.J. Wright in a ton of rhythm, really all that effective. So entering the red zone 6 times, also a great way to win a game. And we fumbled 5 times. We only lost 2 of them, but if we had lost just 1 or 2 more of those fumbles, that could be catastrophic for this game, man. It could be the complete difference maker in those 14 points. Ryan Barton, in his first game starting for the Crimson Tide, has himself an amazing year, over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns himself, man. Just an amazing start for Ryan Barton. I'm feeling good about the Ryan Barton era, okay? Dimitri Lehman also has a great first game as a starter here. Thomas Samples over 200 yards. Doesn't have a touchdown, though, which is weird. But Andrew Solomon, man, have yourself a day, man. Receiver 3 really stepping up, having himself a massive game. And even some people on the defense were feasting a little bit. John Bellamy has an easy day. Doesn't do much of anything other than kick PAT. So it is a great game and a great way to start our season, a nice tone-setting win. But now we have to go up against the team that Texas lost to end their season last year, Fresno State, the reigning BCS champion. So hope to see you guys back in Tuscaloosa for that game.